Testing, testing. Testing. I'd like to call to order the Riviera Beach CRA meeting, May 8th, 2019, 6 p.m. Madam Roll Call.
Commissioner Lawson,
Here.
Commissioner Lanier,
Here.
Commissioner McCoy,
Here.
Vice Chair Botel,
Here.
Chair Miller Anderson,
Here.
also present Scott Evans, Interim Executive Director, and Michael Hagoods, CRA General Counsel.
I don't think the mic's on. Are the mics on? Are the microphones on? All right, we'll have a moment of silence followed by the Pledge of Allegiance led by Councilman McCoy.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Do we have any additions and deletions?
I would like to just move one item, item number 6, which is presentation of the annual audit, to the first item under regular business.
Okay, anyone else? All right, do we have any disclosures by commission and staff? Can we have a motion to adopt the agenda?
So moved.
Second.
Madam Clerk?
Commissioner Lawson,
Yes.
Commissioner Lanier, Commissioner McCoy,
Yes.
Vice Chair Botel,
Yes.
Chair Miller Anderson.
Yes.
Motion carries.
Okay, consent agenda, all matters listed under this item are considered to be routine and action will be taken on by one motion. There will be no separate discussion of these items unless a council person so requests, in which event the item will be removed from the general order of business and considered in its normal sequence on the agenda. Do we have anyone that would like to pull an item from the consent agenda? Do we have any public comment cards for consent?
No, Madam Chair.
All right, can we,
Move for consent, Madam Chair.
all right. We have a second?
Second.
Commissioner Lawson,
Yes.
Commissioner Lanier,
Yes.
Commissioner McCoy,
Yes.
Vice Chair Botel,
Yes.
Chair Miller Anderson.
Yes.
Motion carries.
Item number, I guess we'll, the audit, what number we're going to make that?
Each year, the CRA conducts an annual audit. That audit, once accepted by this board, will then be included in the city's audit. And Thomas Williams, on behalf of HCT, will present it for your acceptance tonight.
Okay. Good evening.
Good evening, Chairwoman Miller Anderson, members of the board. Like Mr. Evans said, my name is Thomas Williams, the lead auditor from HCT in charge of the audit for fiscal year 2018 for the CRA. Right here, just a brief overview of the topics that will be discussed. We're going to discuss the audit opinion, go over some of the general fund summary. Then we'll take a look back at 17 and 18, go over net position, and then go over any comments made. We are pleased to present that the CRA does have an unqualified opinion, which means that the financial statements are presented fairly. The staff did a great job this year of whenever I asked for something, they produced it, so I'd like to thank them for that, and on their way to a unqualified opinion. Just to look at the just some of the basic balance sheet items for the general fund. Total assets were $16.4 million, with liabilities being $11.6, and deferred inflows, which were mainly deferred rents, being $82,000, leaving a positive fund balance of $4.7 million. Just to take a look at some of the just the brief overview of the revenues and expenses. For this year, the CRA generated $9.1 million, mainly from TIF funds, which, as you know, are tax money. So as you see, the CRA is doing a great job of raising the tax value and bringing in TIF dollars, as well as they had expenses of 8.5, resulting in a positive net income of $570,000 for the year. Now, if you take a look back from 17 to 18, you see that the CRA was able to rise revenues by $570,000 while decreasing expenses by $1.1 million. And as you see, being able to generate more revenues while decreasing expenses, good job by the CRA. Now, the net position, that takes a overall look of everything. That includes fixed assets as well as other liabilities. So for the governmental side, which is mainly the CRA, and the business side would be the CDE side of the CRA, you'll be able to see that total assets were right around $36 million. And unfortunately, liabilities were at $48 million. But generally, the overall health of the CRA is good. This year, we are pleased to present there were no findings. Like I mentioned, the staff did a wonderful job, especially merging some of the accounting services with the city. They were able to reconcile all of their items and get us a clean audit this year. And with that, we'd like to take any questions if you have any.
Do we have a public comment card on this item?
No, Madam Chair.
Do we have any comments from the board?
Yes, Madam Chair.
Go ahead.
That slide that you had, the negative 8.9, and then you had the other, what does that mean?
The best way to put that, within the liabilities, there is this one large liability owed back to the city, and that's really the main portion of that negative number.
The CRA has a debt that's been deferred to the city for the construction of the Ocean Mall Park in the infrastructure of the Ocean Mall development. We have an existing loan with the city that's set to finish payment in 2023, 2024. And once that payment last payment is completed, then we will resume payments of the deferred debt, which is the Ocean Mall debt. And that's about $10 million.
Yes, about roughly $10 million. And that's why we like to show the fund statements, because that kind of shows you the health of the CRA going year by year. But as he mentioned, that large debt that's owed back to the city is still on the books on the government-wide side.
Okay.
Okay, any other questions? All right, thank you.
Thank you all.
Item number 4.
We have to do
I'm sorry. Go ahead. What do you want? A motion?
a motion and a second.
So moved.
A motion to,
Make a motion to accept the audit.
do we have a second? A motion to accept the audit?
Okay, to accept.
Say the whole thing, please.
Yes, I make a motion to accept the audit report.
Second.
Commissioner Lawson,
Yes.
Commissioner Lanier,
Yes.
Commissioner McCoy,
Yes.
Vice Chair Botel,
Yes.
Chair Miller Anderson.
Yes.
Motion carries.
Item number 4.
Marina Village LOI discussion.
I'm sorry, 3. Item number 3 is the Marina Village. What number, just for record keeping, what are you putting the audit as?
It's number 3 because he moved it up to the
So
beginning.
you're
of it.
changing all of the numbers now? Typically, on the city side, we kind of just make an A or a B so it doesn't throw the rest of them off. But because
Okay.
we don't have that many, I guess it's okay for this, but
Okay.
typically we just do like an A, B, or C or something, so we don't have to change all the other numbers. So number 3 was the audit, 4 is the Marina Village. Okay.
This item is requesting CRA Board to approve comments and directives, which will be transmitted in response to the joint draft letter of interest that was provided by APD Solutions and TESRA. During board discussions in December, it was suggested that the proposers consider structuring a joint proposal to develop the site And the two teams agreed to try and work together to propose something. And the parties prepared a draft letter of intent, which they have provided to us. An internal review of the proposed draft. Following that, we met with the individual CRA board members. And based on those discussions, we've prepared the following comments to direct revisions to the draft letter of intent. The CRA will negotiate one development agreement that will include all parties. The combined team or development approach will proceed with preparing a unified conceptual development plan that integrates the elements into a single development approach and a site plan for this board's review. The combined team will submit a written summary of the intended work program, a preliminary estimated schedule to complete the development agreement, and then to design and construct the proposed elements within the unified development plan. The response shall also provide a summary to what extent the CRA and city's participation is required to complete the project under the unified plan. The combined team, we are providing them 45 days to revise their letter, and they may also, within 30 days, request a reasonable adjusted time frame if they're still working through those elements. The next steps, the agency would, following receipt from those two teams of that unified plan, we would provide it to the board and a presentation so that then you could immediately consider moving forward with negotiations of the Marina Development Agreement based on the unified plan. So tonight we're asking for approval to transmit those comments and revisions based on the draft letter of intent to the two teams. Thank you.
Okay. Do we have any public comments on this item?
We do, Madam Chair.
Okay.
Rodney Roberts, followed by Fane Lozman and Delcia Brooks.
Good evening.
Good evening.
How y'all doing? Congratulations to everybody. I think I can't say that enough to you all. Rodney Roberts, 1581 West 14th Street, Riviera Beach, Federal Gardens. With respect to this item, I'm sure it's a great item. However, I like to go back to what the CRA is about as far as I'm concerned and what the state statute says it's about. So because there exists in counties and municipalities of the state a severe shortage of housing affordable to residents of low or moderate income, including the elderly, the existence of such condition affects the health, safety, and welfare of the residents of such counties and municipalities and retards their growth in economic and social development. And that the elimination or improvement of such condition is a proper matter of state policy and state concern and is for a valid and desirable public purpose. The prevention of and elimination of slums and blight is so the citizens not continue to be endangered by areas which are focal centers of disease, promote juvenile delinquency, and consume an excess portion of our revenues because of the extra services required for police, fire, other forms of public protection and services. So with respect to what you all are doing, I get that, you know, there's a call for what you're doing. However, I think that for so many years, the CRA has not paid proper attention to the real purpose of what the CRA is for in it, and I would like to know, where is the blight in this situation? Where is the elimination of the blight? I would like for you all to look at the CRA area, the CRA district, and tell me, are there not areas that deserve more attention than this situation? And I'm not saying that you need to stop this, right? Well, no. If you could stop it, that would be great. But again, I'm not against this. I just know that there are other areas of the city that need more attention and deserve more attention with respect to state statute and what the purpose of a CRA is. The prevention or enhancement of the tax base from which a tax authority realizes tax revenue is essential to its existence and financial health. So again, going back to helping the least of these, the the slum and the blighted, which was the call of why the CRA exists. We need to get back to that. I appreciate you all for doing that.
Thank you.
Fane Lozman, followed by Delcia Brooks Hamilton, and Tony Brown.
Fane Lozman, Singer Island.
Good evening.
13 years ago, I sat here and I fought Viking Yachts and their redevelopment plan to use eminent domain to take 2,200 homes and give the public marina that had been donated in perpetuity to Viking. For years, Mary McKinney and the prior development guy, they were involved. They were Viking's favorite pets, let's call them. They're human pets, where they would just run around and do what Viking told them. And Viking said, oh, we had the economy's bad. We have a recession. We can't sign the development agreement. And it kept rolling on and on and on. And sometime in the new decade, the board finally said, we're done with Viking. And there was a vote to fire them. And then a few seconds before that happened, they came and said, we quit. But for, I don't know, Mr. Evans would remember, 10 years Viking was involved with the city and they finally walked away? Or we told them they were going to walk away because they failed to perform. And by the way, how many years have you been interim director? Is there any, not only the interim directorships, department heads on the city side, have you been interim director for 4 or 5 years now? Can somebody ask him that question when I finish my comments, how many years he's been interim? Why can't we have a permanent CRA director? And if he's not going to be it, then let's advertise and find one. But anyway, for the last 13 years, we've been drifting around with who is going to be the development partner for the city. And during that time, Viking, that was supposed to fund the marina redevelopment, they didn't fund anything. There had to be a bond floated to redo the marina, put the new docks in, put in the new buildings. Viking is now being paid $9,000 a month for a parking lot inside the city marina property for the Yachtsman Inn. So not only did they screw us over, now we're paying them $9,000 a month. And I talked to Mr. Evans, why don't we just eminent domain that $9,000 a month parking lot and make it our own? But it basically goes down, if the city was able to accomplish these objectives, get the marina rebuilt, get the new Newcomb Hall built, do these things with the inefficiency in the CRA that was noted in the 2006 Auditor General's report. They were paying all these consultants millions of dollars and had nothing to show for it. I think the time is now. I told the prior board, and I'll tell this board. The California Supreme Court disbanded every single CRA in California. This CRA had already timed out. I think it's 25 years, and it timed out, and it gave an extension. It was 30, maybe it's 30 years it timed out from 85 to 2005. Or 85 to 2015, excuse me. It timed out after 30 years. The CRA should be disbanded, and the activity should come under the city's purview, and then the taxes that have to stay in the CRA could go into the city's general fund. There's no reason to have a CRA anymore. We had it for 30 years. It's time to move on, get rid of it, and put everything under the city's umbrella.
Thank you.
Delcia Brooks, followed by Tony Brown and Ezra Sappold.
Good evening, Council Chair Mr. Evans, and Mayor Felder's not here. So, my name is Delcia Brooks Hamilton, and the community. My name is Delcia Brooks Hamilton, and I am here representing Pangea Grill, which is my restaurant. Now, I submitted a letter of intent back in August 28, 2015, and I know I've come up here many times, and you know I'm going to be saying the same thing until my restaurant gets built. So I submitted an LOI on August 28, 2015 to operate a 4-star restaurant on the marina. It was submitted to Mark Blumke, and he was the project manager at the time. Now, I was informed that I was the only interested candidate. And because I was the only interested candidate, they had to submit it the second time around, including the surrounding communities. Now, there were maybe about 5 other participants, but again, I'm the only one here standing. So, on March 2nd, 2016, I was sent a Track B restaurant site proposal from Nicole Fontaine, and she was the CBRE broker along with the commercial lease application, which I still have. I have all the initial emails, I have the contract, all the correspondence from Nicole Fontaine, and also from, at the time, it was, yes, Nicole Fontaine and Mark Blumke. I signed it, filled it out, returned it to the CRA, and then I was told that, I needed to get my own contractor, my own architect, and get everything done on my own, and I did. It took me a couple of years to get this done. I do have my rendering, and I'm in the process of finishing up my site plan. Excuse me. Now, over the past 5 years, I have been working on this plan. I'm ready to go. I have I have the money, and I'm ready to go. Now, I was then told that the project was placed on hold because of the fact that they didn't have any parking space. But then yet, Rafiki Tiki is sharing the parking space at the marina. So I'm wondering, why couldn't I do the same? Why couldn't I share the parking space as well? So my project was placed on hold. My investor has been waiting on me, with me, for the past 3 years. He's been here from Germany 3 times. And frankly speaking, he is actually tired. I just want to move forward with the developer that's chosen, and the developer that was actually doing the project before, I would like to be able to continue with that group.
Thank you,
I'm
Ms.
asking for you guys to give him consideration to continue what he left off with.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Tony Brown, followed by Ezra Saffold and Billy Brooks.
Hi, good afternoon. I'm Tony Brown. I'm one of the partners in Tesra. My partner behind me will speak shortly. It's my first time addressing the body since the new election, so congratulations to all the new council members. It's good to see you. I am speaking on behalf of Tesra. I'm not sure if there's a member of APD here, that we are in support of the spirit of the recommendations being made by your staff. We did submit in our letter saying that each party would be under a separate agreement with the CRA. It does make sense that there would be one agreement, provided that all parties, Tesra and APD, are privy to that agreement with the CRA. It would also make sense for the CRA to be able to point to one body to be responsible for the delivery of that development agreement. And either in the negotiations with APD, Tesra, would raise our hands to be the managing member of the development agreement because, one, we're local, you know us, we have the track record, we did phase 1, we know where the lines are literally buried. I also know, and quite frankly, negotiated all the development agreements with Viking that are in escrow. We propose in our joint letter that we would have on the responsibility of doing the parking, the residential, and the hotel. Those elements will exceed $100 million. As you heard from Ms. Brooks, you will not be able to develop the marina if we don't solve the issue of parking. We will not be able to develop the marina, as you heard from Mr. Lozman, if we don't figure out how you can get Viking out of your marina. Our proposal addressed that. We have a commitment for over $66 million to develop the parking. So if there is one agreement and you want to hold one party responsible, we will volunteer to be that responsible party. Thank you.
Thank you.
Ezra Saffold, followed by Billy Brooks.
Good evening, Council.
Good evening.
Ezra Saffold, Tesra Partners. Glad to be here at this point. We've come a long way, and we're ready. For Riviera, by Riviera. Local homegrown guy. We're ready for complete inclusion in this process. From contractors to local workforce to people just entering the workforce. We're ready to bring everybody aboard in this process. I just want to thank you in advance for just having us a part of this very momentous time in Riviera Beach's future. Thank you.
Thank you.
Billy Brooks.
Good evening, everyone.
Good evening.
Billy Brooks, 1325 West 28th Street. I'm here to speak really on behalf of the group, TESRA. You know, when you've got Tony Brown involved in something, and this is the person who really brought everything here to our city with the CRA. And I feel that we can have confidence with him and a partnership with the other group as well, because I believe when you look at all the strengths of the bodies, that we really got a lot to look forward to. And we're talking about this being an economic engine for the city. So we really need to move forward. And we've got a city manager, Prefel, will be coming pretty soon. So we have someone, because you all are, in fact, the landlord. The other tenants. And when I heard at the meeting on the 27th of Feb that that agreement had been canceled and that you didn't have the authority, I started doing research. The agreement of 2014 was not canceled, unless one of us can find minutes that I couldn't find. I mean, I searched all the way to 2017. But in fact, March 2016, there had been an amendment to that agreement, making some changes that would be more helpful, I guess, in terms of the financial arrangement between the two entities. So to the attorney, I would say that, in fact, there is that agreement should still be pretty good, should be in effect. And whatever changes have been made, I would think that legal would certainly have any new amendments that were changed. But according to March 3/16, where you, the city council, not the CRA, had come up with a resolution to amend that agreement. It was during the time of an election, and so it was tabled until July 2016. And I believe the meeting ran so long that eventually it just kept being moved and there hadn't been any action on it. That was how as far as I had done my research. So it does appear that you are legally in a position, the CRA, to have the city is in a position to do business with the CRA according to that original 2014 agreement. So I'm just hopeful that we can get started on this and get the residents excited about seeing some more activity there that will bring jobs and opportunities here for us. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
That's the end of public comment.
Okay. Do we have any questions from the board? I have a question, Mr. Haygood and Mr. Evans, regarding the point that Ms. Brooks just brought up. Are you familiar with that, or can you
I
provide
don't know
any input
I don't
on
know
it?
what agreement she's referring to.
Okay, so we'll try to find that out. Okay. No? Okay. Anyone else?
Madam Chair.
Mm-hmm.
The portion in the letter that says CRA will negotiate one development agreement and the two teams will have their own, either Mr. Haygood or Mr. Evans, could you explain that a little bit more in detail as to how that will look for both parties? Would that be to negotiate a contract with just one developer and then they'll come up with their other one, or what does that look like?
Our thought was that they would actually, both teams would be involved, would be included in the development agreement, but one party would be actually responsible. So it's really, we're going to wait until they respond to our request, and there's going to be negotiations on how that works out. But we don't want to have two agreements out there for coordination and also for liability. We want to be able to look to one party, however that is formed. So a lot of this they're going to have to negotiate.
Anyone else?
Follow-up, Madam Chair? So how possible is it to negotiate, I know we spoke in detail about this, but to put within the RFP that both parties will be responsible? As
You mean
opposed
the
to
development agreement?
Yes, sir.
There's going to have to be one entity that's going to, our thought is, there's going to be one entity that's going to be responsible. How that entity is formed and what the responsibilities are, we're going to wait for them to come back to us.
So is it feasible for them to come together and just create a separate entity to go on?
That's a possibility.
Okay.
Of course, we're going to look, as we discussed, some kind of guarantees and performance, some type of guarantee of performance, and that'll come from that entity. But yes.
So will we be voting on anything today, Madam Chair, or
I
is,
just
are
think
we
we
just
would-
waiting on a response? What is our next steps?
Madam Chair, we're asking that the board just vote to transmit the comments in the memo to the teams.
I have a question. Mr. Haygood, in regards to the two teams, Mr. Lawson making a point of if they came up with a new entity,
Yeah, the RFP said that we could accept one or two, so I think it's broad enough that they can either assign, one team can assign the team that was selected, the number one, could assign certain development rights. That's optimum to me, that the agreement would assign certain rights to the other team, but they, of course, would be included in the development agreement, and they would outline exactly what responsibilities, how they're going to divide the
okay,
responsibilities.
maybe I misunderstood, Mr. Lawson. I took it as you saying they could like form a new company together as one.
That's what I did
Yeah,
ask.
and quite often with these development agreements, you try to isolate, for instance, you wouldn't necessarily expect the major development or the one developer to do all of the development within there. Quite often, they'll set up a different entity, for instance, that would actually have title. Let's say that, in fact, there is a residential component built. That residential component could be in another entity's name. It's done that way for isolating the project so that you dealing with just, if there is, the old analogy to a house of cards, if one card falls, the whole thing doesn't fall apart.
But the way you're explaining it, though, you would still have one company that is the lead, right?
Yes.
Okay, but in my mind, and based on what Mr. Lawson said, and I think I may have brought this up to you all when I met with you, about them creating an entirely new company as one, the two teams in one. But would that present a problem with the procurement process?
I don't think so.
Okay, so
We're
they
gonna
can go
let-
and start a new company and join forces and then they are equals.
Right. Well, as I said, I think there's going to be some negotiations. We have an idea of how this should be done. I'm sure they're going to come back with some different, and we'll negotiate exactly how we want this to be done.
All right.
Madam
Anyone
Chair?
else? Yes.
I wanted to thank Attorney Haygood and Director Evans for the very thorough briefing they gave as a precursor to this meeting. I have a good understanding of the difficulties involved in these decisions, but I'm very anxious to see us move forward. This is going to be a great new day for Riviera Beach. It's going to be a marvelous economic engine. We've already begun to devise ways to train folks in the construction trade so that we can truly have community participation. So I'm excited about that. I hope we can do it quickly and get this thing built. Thanks.
Anyone else?
Madam Chair,
Yes.
I just still have some questions about the two developers that is going to mean that somebody's going to have to be number two. So you're saying that further down the line, you're going to figure out who's going to be
They're going to figure it out. We aren't. They're going to come back to us in response to what we're requesting and bring something back to us. This is our suggestion in addressing the points that you raised. Now, and as a further point, for financing purposes, for instance, a financing company who financed the residential area may not be interested in financing the commercial part. So there's going to be, as we go through this process, it's not going to be just one mortgage for the whole property. It's not going to be just one entity. So it will develop. This will come about as we go along. But the purpose of this letter was then to be a little more specific than the initial letter that they sent us to address those issues. And as I said, I'm sure there's going to be negotiations, discussions as we go down the line.
Okay, anyone else? All right, so they would like to have a motion to accept the memo, is what you're saying?
Yes, to transmit the comments in the memo.
Make a motion to transmit the comments.
Question, Madam Chair.
Yes.
So, and excuse me, Commissioner
Do-
Botel.
Let me ask, before, since the motion's on the floor, can we just get a second and then discussion if that's what you have, a discussion, right? You want to ask a question regarding it?
I wanted clarification on the memo.
Can we get a second from anyone? And then we can discuss. Can we get, huh?
Second.
Yeah, we just need a second and then we can discuss it, yeah. Go ahead, Mr. McCoy.
So, and just looking at the memo, it's presuming, I guess I was trying to understand exactly. Commissioner Lawson suggested that there be, I guess, a new company created that encompasses both. But the memo outlines that APD Solutions was recommended as the top qualified. So in the event that there is a new company recommended, what does that do for the entire recommendation and the evaluation process that's already been established? Because essentially, will we be then scrapping out that evaluation and then starting back fresh? And let me preface this by saying, Madam Chair, I was trying to figure out a way to say that before the motion went on the floor, because that still is unclear. What happens if they do join? I mean, that's not exactly responsive or reflective of what the staff's recommendation is.
I'm not sure that the memo was intended to be written in concrete. In other words, the biggest thing is we want one development agreement. That was the number one point. Number two, we want one concept plan. We want them to sit down and say, this is our plan. As far as the procurement end of it, there is broad enough authority in the procurement code for you all to ask for other information and to negotiate with the teams. It doesn't mean, and we definitely are not telling them how to outline it. We aren't going to select Tesral as being the lead. That's really up to them. And if they can't reach an agreement, then that's when we'll be back to you.
Follow up?
Yes.
That's when you would be back to us.
In other words, then that's an issue, because what you all told us to do was to see if they could negotiate something jointly. If it comes back and they haven't reached an agreement, then it's going to be up to you to say either throw it out or just go with the number one person. So, you're still in the selection process. And as it stands now, APD was and is the suggested party to you. So I guess APD is going to have to be in agreement with how this thing works out. And I think that was the intent of why they were to sit down and do this. And rather than us trying to dictate to them or like who's going to do the housing, what responsibilities are going to be, we were asking them to sit down and do that and bring it back to us.
Follow up. Go ahead. And I think I understood that until I heard, I guess, Commissioner Lawson say something that I heard for the first time today. But, Mr. Evans, if I could follow up regarding our meeting this morning, did we have an agreement in theory as to this is where we're going between the two?
No, we don't know what their proposal response is going to be or which way they're going to go.
Well,
I will say that there's two actions that will happen in the future. One will be for this board to review and consider the unified plan and to direct the teams to begin negotiating directly with the CRA to develop the development agreement. And that process will take about another 6 months. And the final entities that result in the final development agreement, at that time that could change. There could be various partnerships that are created that end up in the final development agreement. So there's two steps that will happen. One will be to select the joint unified team and begin negotiations, ideally. And then the second will be when we bring you back the detailed development agreement, which will help us start design and construction of of the project.
Follow up,
You have the floor.
Mr. Evans. So, if that's true, the Unified Development Plan, does that then negate what has already been established by the Evaluation Committee? And again, I started by asking the question, is there an agreement in theory? Because at least from the comment that was made at item 1, there seems to be some concern as to one development agreement, but the two teams will have their own agreement between each other. So I'm just trying to make sure that I'm clear on, in the event that there is no, that's why I asked, is there an agreement in theory? Because, you know, I'm still trying to find myself, and I just got this proposal on Monday, I believe it was. I just wanted to make sure, is there an agreement in theory before we set this out for 45 days that either party is willing to do the one development agreement as opposed to both teams doing or having their own development rights? Because one team essentially is saying that's not what we had in the evaluation committee. That's not what the evaluation committee reviewed.
Yes, both teams are in agreement to try and create one development agreement. So yes, we have in theory their agreement to try and pursue this. Yeah. Yes.
Madam Chair?
You already finished,
Yes,
Mr.
Mr.
McCoy?
McCoy's finished.
For now, yes.
Thank you. I think the intent of this vote is simply to get them to continue to work together, and we are directing staff to send them this letter so that they can come together once again and come up with a unified plan. Am I right? Okay,
Yes.
so that's a simple, plain and simple. Yes, go ahead and send the letter. That's what we're voting on, right? Okay, thank you.
Mr. Lawson?
Yes, ma'am. To be clear, the council never voted on accepting the recommendation from the committee, correct?
They did not.
They did not. Okay. So as of right now, we're just in open discussion, and both developers are going to come back to the table with a response by the next meeting.
Right.
Do we have a time
Not
frame?
next week.
Well, I'm sorry, next meeting. Do we have a time frame for them?
Not next.
Not next meeting.
We've requested they do it within 45
45
days
days?
or notify of some similar time frame that they could accomplish it in.
Okay.
I think one of the problems last time was they didn't have enough time to do this. So we're looking for something more comprehensive from them as far as how they're going to address this. I think we shared with you their initial letter, and it was a lot of the things that were unclear that we're looking for clarity on. And as I said, this is going to be something that's going to take some time. And again, in most of these developments, especially when you have these many different projects going on, if it was just, say, building a restaurant, then you could see the one developer that you selected doing it. But even if you chose, say, ADP, without any of this, without trying to come up with a joint suggestion or proposal for them, ADP would probably not do all of the development. They would assign, which they would have the right to, subject to your approval, some of those development rights to another entity. You know, they may not be an apartment builder. They may be a specialist in doing retail. And I think that's part of why they were able to sit down and at least in concept come up with how they were going to divide it up. I think one team has some strengths, as they mentioned in their presentation, that the other doesn't necessarily have.
Okay, and as Councilwoman Botel pointed out, is that we're not making any decisions on this tonight other than to go back to them to have a discussion. And I know Mr. Evans and Mr. Haygood spoke with each one of us at length in 2-hour increments regarding this project. And so for the sake of what we need to do tonight, I think it's a simple yes or no if we want them to go back and allow them to continue their discussions. We're not voting to give it to APD. We're not voting to give it to TESRA. We're not doing any of that tonight. So the motion that's on the floor is simply to agree yes or no to allowing them to go back to them and for them to work out those details. And then they will come back to us, and at that point in time, we'll be able to decide on which route we're going to go with it.
Madam Chair,
Yes.
just one question. I just want to ask, has this been done somewhere else before like this?
I don't know, to my knowledge, no. Of course, I don't know all of the development agreements, but the ones I have done, but the difference, of course, is in one case, it was just building an apartment or some rental housing, and the developer actually came to us and requested that they be able to assign a part of the project to another developer, which we agreed to.
I will add that the process of us requesting for them to clarify and provide more details on their proposed development plan is very normal, and all projects go through that.
All right.
Madam Chair.
Yes.
So, and let me finish before you cut me off. I'm very aware of what Mr. Scott Evans was asking us. I had a 2-hour meeting and then again another hour-and-a-half meeting this morning. My question remains, and this is in response to what I heard Attorney Haygood say. He suggested that if APD is willing to do the assignment, if that's what I heard you say?
Yes.
So, okay, so that's where I'm at. So are we already at the point that in the event that in 45 days this doesn't come back, are we as board, or I guess at least half of us as a new board, assumed to take that position that APD is the one?
They're unable to reach an agreement, then that's a different story. Then you're going to have to make the decision of whether you're going to go along with the initial. You also have the choice to say, we're going to make our own selection of between the two teams that.
Number 5.
A resolution of the Board of Commissioners of the Riviera Beach Community Redevelopment Agency authorizing the execution of a contract for professional engineering services with Chinmore and Associates Incorporated to provide engineering services for the utilities burial along the US 1.
We've been proceeding with the first phase of installing the underground utility lines to both beautify the corridor and harden the infrastructure, light, and Comcast. And that has been done previously by Chen Moore and Associates. Phase 2 includes the relocation of Florida Power and Light and AT&T. And following that, then they could remove the overhead facilities. And the City of Riviera Beach has a continuing services contract with Chen Moore that we would be piggybacking on to continue to utilize their services on the project. And this contract proposal is for 18 months so that they can help complete this project, and the CRA make sure that our dollars are wisely spent.
Okay, do we have any public comment cards?
We have 2 public comment cards. Rodney Roberts, followed by Fane Losman.
Okay.
Good evening.
Good evening.
Rodney Roberts, 1581 West 14th Street, Riviera Beach,
Ms.
Federal
Tamara.
Gardens. So again, we're spending money, and it's for a good cause, for beautification, what have you. I would venture to ask, are power lines considered slum and blight? And is that what we need as far as our focus, as far as the CRA is concerned, and curing the slum and blight? As far as people will spend your money faster than you can make it if you allow them to, and they will put you in great debt if you allow them to, and you guys are the ones that are in charge of how the money gets spent. So what I'm saying is, if all the money that is inside the CRA district came from the CRA district, and the predominant function of the CRA district was, when it was founded, was housing, then why aren't you putting the money back into what made you all this money that you're spending now? If you're, and that is it in a nutshell. Neighborhoods and people that had homes were paying taxes, and those taxes went into the CRA, I guess, fund, and then the TIF dollars from the county came and gave you that extra 50% of those dollars. Why aren't we putting that money back into the neighborhoods, to the people that actually worked for and gave us the dollars that we're spending? we're not doing that, and we have not been doing that. And you new council persons, I don't know if you know that. I mean, you may know that, and you may be looking for a window of opportunity to give back, but you're spending the money right now. You're spending those dollars, and those dollars were being spent in the hundreds of thousands or talking millions before you got here. So I don't know where you saw the audit. You saw where the TIF dollars are coming in and then they're gone, and none of those dollars, not enough of those dollars. I'm sure if you did the research, not enough of those dollars are being put back into the residential areas. They're not. And when the state talks about affordable housing, you know that the more developing you do and the higher rents get and the cost of living gets, that cuts out more people. More people have to move out. Some of us are not worried about those people because we make money off of developments and what have you, and it's just it's a survival of the fittest thing. But we need to be serving our citizens and looking out for those people that possibly can't look out for themselves because for whatever reason. But I know that those dollars came from a certain place, and they need to go back to that place as well, not just to the new developments.
Thank you.
Fane Lozman.
Fane Lozman,
Good evening.
Singer Island. What's unique about this council is you have two pretty sophisticated individuals up there. You have that deal with numbers. You have a businessman, Mr. Lawson, and you have accountant, Mr. McCoy. And they showed their expertise when it came to the city manager's contract, where they weren't going to let this guy run us over. Now, how can that expertise be used here? The way it's been explained over the years is that I think, like to say the technical term is the incremental tax appreciation, or whatever it is, from a base level to a higher level. That gap can't go into the city's general fund. It has to stay in the CRA district. So if the CRA makes a lot of money eventually, those dollars have to stay in the CRA. By getting rid of the CRA, those funds can be distributed anywhere in the city. One of the, Priscilla Taylor was on the Joint Legislative Audit Committee. She's a very impressive woman, and the Joint Legislative Audit Committee had an audit of the city at the state level in like 2006. And they had a follow-up audit 2 years later. And in those audits, it talked about millions, if not tens of millions of dollars were being squandered in the CRA between consultants, between all these failed projects, between development stuff. It's just a slush fund of money that was just flowing through the CRA. Lawyers, and those funds could have been used in the city's general fund, where the city itself could have controlled the redevelopment of different areas. Maybe you put electric wires under Broadway, but maybe it's more important to put some sidewalks and streets on the west side, or fix a bridge or do something else. But you're kind of stuck in the CRA platform. And what I'm saying, it expired after 30 years. It should have been called the day after 30 years and not renewed, and you could still get rid of it, because now that things are looking up in the CRA, you cannot reallocate those dollars to other parts of the city. Those dollars have to stay in the CRA. You can't pull them out to do something else with them. So I'm saying the CRA basically has fulfilled its role, and a role was just of a lot of waste and whatever, and it got a couple things done, but the point is, you don't need another lawyer sitting here paying by the hour. We already have 2 city lawyers. You don't need another development head. You can use somebody on the city staff. These things are being basically reduplicated. You don't need to sit as a separate board. You're basically reduplicating things, and now that these tax dollars are going to be coming in, they're going to be stuck there. So eventually somebody down the line is going to want to get rid of the CRA to get those dollars back into the general fund. I'm saying do it now. The CRA has run its course, it timed out, move on, and the 2 gentlemen up there that deal with numbers every day, take a good look at it and say, something doesn't make sense to reduplicate a lot of the resources the city already has.
Thank you.
That's the end of public comment.
All right, do we have any questions or comments from the board? All right.
Just
Madam-
one question, Mr.
Yes.
Evans. So this is from 11th to Blue Heron. Do we foresee possibly in the fiscal years to come, Blue Heron North to Silver Beach Road?
Yes, if we decided to continue the project, we could initiate a third phase, or a second phase rather, that would complete it from 27th Street to Silver Beach Road.
And again, these are just on the south side of the road?
That's the rather.
Sorry, the east side.
The east side is
Yeah,
where
east
they're
side
being
of-
buried. Yes.
Okay. Thank you, Madam Chair.
Anyone else? Madam Clerk?
Commissioner Lawson,
Yes.
Commissioner Lanier,
Yes.
Commissioner McCoy,
Yes.
Vice Chair Botel,
Yes.
Chair Miller Anderson.
Yes.
Motion carries.
Item number 6.
A resolution of the Board of Commissioners of the Riviera Beach Community Redevelopment Agency approving an agreement with Brightview Landscape Services Incorporated to provide landscape maintenance services for the Marina Village Uplands, Promenade, Bicentennial Park, Avenue C corridor from 15th Street to 11th Street, and 13th Street corridor from Avenue C to Broadway, and the parcel of land formerly known as Spanish Courts and other designated CRA-owned properties within the CRA district, providing an effective date.
Have a motion?
So moved.
Second.
Mr. Evans?
Yes. CRA Project Manager Andre Lewis will present.
Good evening.
Good evening.
Commissioners. So we're talking about the Marina Village landscaping and irrigation service contract and approval request. So on March 3rd of 2019, a bid was published, 2019-01, to obtain pricing for the maintenance of the Marina Village landscaping and irrigation. March 27th of 2019, we completed a bid opening, and Brightview Landscaping was identified as the lowest and most responsive bidder. Currently, the agency is seeking approval to enter into agreement with Brightview Landscaping. The contract term will be for 3 years with a 1-year renewal option, and the contract yearly cost will be $75,800 with a 9% contingency for additional services, and these additional services are not to exceed $82,622 in total.
Entire contract.
In the entire contract. So a little background on Brightview Landscaping. They're a full-service landscaping company. They have 4 branches here in Palm Beach County and 10 branches in South Florida. The company has provided proof of completing large-scale landscaping projects with a budget exceeding $1 million, and the agency has completed 3 successful reference checks. Questions?
Do we have any public comment cards?
We have one public comment card.
All right, let's go to public comment, then we'll come back.
Rodney Roberts.
Rodney Roberts, 1581 West 14th Street, Riviera Beach.
Good evening.
Good evening. Again, the focal point, the corridor, Broadway, Marina, not the neighborhoods, not where the money that funds the CRA, the majority of the money that funds the CRA came from. Over however many years it took for the money to grow to be where it is now, that you can spend it how you are spending it, is not being returned back to the neighborhoods. I don't know how many times in the past I probably suggested that we roll some 18-wheelers inside this city in the CRA and dump off some sod to the houses and things like that. Put some young persons to work, get people working and get them taking pride in their community. People and get some of the crime and things away from out of the community. But because we don't put the millions of dollars that we have at our disposal, I'm not telling you to do away with the CRA. I'm telling you take the money that's in the CRA that's being put in a particular area of the CRA and put in another area that needs that money. That again, that needs to take pride in the area, that needs to understand that the city does care about them as well. not just over here where, oh, it's going to be a great economic yada, yada, yada. The homes are guaranteed to bring you money because people have to stay somewhere. People don't have to go to your restaurant. They don't have to come shop with you, especially if there are other shops that are better than what you're producing or whatever, or until yours comes online, you're still in debt. But people that live in their homes, they have to pay their property taxes, and that money is still coming back to you guys in the CRA, and you're still spending it and not spending it on them. It's just, it's disrespectful in a sense, but if they don't know it, then they just don't know it. They don't know that that's their money that you're spending. They don't know that when you take out loans on that area, that you're taking out loans on their houses, and that's their money. They don't know. I don't think that they really know. And I hear about you have certain projects that do give back, but we do a poor job at letting people know that the money is there for them to do. And I feel like you need to be having people paying these young people to go door to door and talk to these homeowners or whatever and explain to them, hey, this is your money. This is what we can do for your house. You need this, you need that. We can get it for you. But we don't do that. And again, we just take it over here. And I don't want to say we're squandering it, but we're definitely putting ourselves in more of a debt position because we have to make that money back before we realize, before we have to make it back first. But we can help people right now.
Thank you. All right, do we have any questions from the board? Comments?
Madam Chair?
Yes.
Mr. Lewis, within the proposal, was there any local or minority participation recommended or advised by the winning bid?
No, it was a straight bid. So it wasn't, the approach wasn't an RFP approach. It was a straight bid.
And follow up, Madam Chair.
Go ahead.
There was a comment made about the entire contract underneath the contingency, the 9%. That 9% is a contingency for the entire 3-year contract, or is that per year?
Per year. So it's 9% of the total.
So the contract is
The
$82,000.
total yearly cost, yes.
So the contract is $82,622 per year for the next 3 years.
It'll be 86.
$82,622.
Yes.
And just to reiterate, the local minority participation, Madam Chair,
Yes.
that's why I really want us to push and possibly work with the CRA in getting this disparity study done so that we can actually get that implemented. So that's why I'm going to actually request that the CRA comes on board as well to possibly support and assist with this disparity study getting done as quickly as possible.
Okay.
Yes, the CRA can participate with the city in that process.
All right, anyone else? Madam Clerk?
Commissioner Lawson,
Yes.
Commissioner Lanier,
Yes.
Commissioner McCoy,
Yes.
Vice Chair Botel,
Yes.
Chair Miller Anderson.
Yes.
Motion carries.
Item number 7.
Clean and Safe Quarterly Update.
I've asked our Clean and Safe managers, Nehemiah Spence and Rod McLeod, as well as Anita Jenkins, to provide the board with an update on our Clean and Safe program. We'll also provide the board an update on some of the neighborhood services initiatives. The CRA has $2 million in this year's budget reserved for neighborhood improvements and affordable housing. So they'll touch on a few of our programs, but we're really looking forward to scheduling a new retreat with the CRA board so that we can get those housing dollars targeted and deployed to the neighborhoods.
Good evening, Board. We're going to be starting off with the overview of the Clean and Safe operation. Then I'm going to give you a quarterly update on the marina operation. I'll then turn it over to Nehemiah Spence, our Clean and Safe operations manager. And when he's concluded that, then our Director of Neighborhood Services, Anita Jenkins, will finish up. Okay. Okay, we're in our 5th year of our award-winning program. We started 5 years ago in February. The program has been well received by businesses and residents within the city. To assist us in delivering better customer service and create a more impactful presence, we've expanded our neighborhood-based services for the fiscal year. Our clean and safe operation is now divided into neighborhood operations portfolio and marina village portfolio. Our strategies are public service, landscaping, event center support, marina district support, neighborhood beautification, green space projects, green space project management, linear park and community gardens, and a new one we're going to be building on Singer Island, community services, business outreach, neighborhood watch, and training. In our marina portfolio, we have an event operations team, a day porter team, a marina village team, and these teams are all cross-trained, and they work together to provide village-wide litter pickup, sidewalk sweeping, pressure washing, walking concierge service, shuttle service, event setup and breakdown within the event center in Marina Village. The ambassadors always provide superior customer service with a smile. We have also hired an additional contract overnight porter service to assist in our cleaning. They work Wednesday through Sunday, and this enables us to start having meetings right at 7 o'clock in the morning, and the place is ready to go. Totally, we have a total of 18 ambassadors, full-time and part-time on board. Our statistics at the marina for the last quarter, we've had 85 events and 170 room turns. We've collected 84,315 pounds of trash, or 42 tons. We collect a lot of trash there. We completed 85 hours of training, and again, our staff, 2 day porters, 2 night porters, 3 marina PSAs, and 5 marina event center PSAs. And in our shuttle service, we transported 3,690 people in the last quarter. And with that, I'll turn it over to Nehemiah.
Good evening, Madam Chair.
Good evening.
Board. My name is Nehemiah Spencer, I'm Operations Manager for the Clean and Safe program. We're going to go over our neighborhood operation portfolio. Our Clean and Safe ambassador are responsible for the following area. We have our Broadway and Blue Heron Corridor, along with Singer Island. We're into Riviera Beach Heights, along with our Park Manor South. We're expanding our area to include 23rd Street north to Silver Beach Road and east and west from the Intercoastal to Avenue F. Part of the duties of our Clean and Safe program is to ensure that our Clean and Safe district is clean. And part of our duties is to ensure all our trash is picked up within the CRA district, vacant lots. Also, we clean our sidewalks using our sidewalk sweepers, and we do pressure washing. We pressure wash our small bridge twice a week to ensure that that area is clean. We have a lot of people out there fishing, so we want to make sure that if visitor or residents come by, that area is cleaned. We also have an ambassador master gardener who's responsible for our community garden, our prosperity garden, our linear parks, and also our new Singer Island garden. We're conducting landscaping. Our ambassador will cut our grass at the CRA-owned property, along with ensuring that the hedges are trimmed. If you can look at the picture, that's our master gardener at work. This is an overview of some of the work that our ambassador has completed this quarter. This is not all, it's just a good overview, and if you look at the pictures, you can see them in action. Our community meetings and events, we held 6 at our Clean and Safe Operations Center. Also, in March, we had our creativity station that we held at our Operations Center. They cleaned 80 blocks of sidewalks using our sidewalk sweepers, and also we pressure washed 174 blocks. Our ambassadors picked up 610 bags of trash throughout the CRA district. and we assist with customer service requests to 315. We conducted 530 business checks and also distributed out 900 notices of events or meetings that was going to take place within our CRA district. We had 6 neighborhood watch meetings, and we responded to 1 incident that required either PD or fire rescue. And this is an overview of our neighborhood operations portfolio. If you have any questions.
Yes, I have a question. I know on last meeting, one of the residents came up and mentioned about the ambassadors not being present as much over on the south side. Has that increased, or?
Yes, we took that into account. What we're over in the neighborhood of the Riviera Beach Heights community 2 to 3 times a week. And what we're doing, we're going out, we're introducing ourselves to the residents so they can get a feel of our team out and about. We have our sidewalk sweepers over there. We're doing, different things in the community. We're passing out literature for events. So we're out there. We take into account some of the question that was asked, so we're out there more and more.
Okay.
And on our way to our designated area, if we see anything that need to be picked up, we do not hesitate to do that.
Okay. Anyone else? All right. Thank you.
Good evening,
Good evening.
Chair and Commissioners. I'm Anita Jenkins, Director of Neighborhood Services. And we just wanted to give you a little taste of things we've been doing for the last month and upcoming activities and neighborhood services and events throughout the CRA area. You see our poster where we had our spring vibes at the marina, which was quite interesting, along the promenade with music and food and entertainment. And one of my pictures disappeared, so we'll keep moving. You see something that was very exciting, and we want to thank you who came out and members of the public. We tried something new with our tiki market that was absolutely fabulous. The pictures are stunning, and we'll have a fuller report at another time, but we wanted to give you a teaser of what you missed if you did not come out. We had stellar talent to come. We had upwards of 1,000 attendees during the Sunday afternoon. The wind coming off of the water and the beautiful views of the boats that you could now see because we've removed the seawall were absolutely beautiful, and it was a great evening. So we attracted people from the region, from our city, but also from the region. So there was a very good food, good music, and it's something that we were asked to repeat. So we had jazz on the water and beautiful artwork for purchase. So it was a great success. You see some additional pictures there. A young musician, the gentleman on the right is 10 years old, and we've had requests to have him come back. The gentleman on the bottom, he has had thousands of likes, and we definitely will have him back. And you can see the atmosphere that we created. So thanks and kudos to our Tiki Market Manager, Allie Hall. She did a fantastic job with her team. So we know you'll come out and you don't want to miss the next time. We want to remind the public and let you all know that we continue to have our owner-occupied rehab program. And just to remind you, we provide up to $20,000 for exterior repairs for owner-occupied residences, and we prioritize code challenge properties within the CRA. And that includes roofs, windows, doors, landscaping, sprinklers, fencing, and driveways. And we've completed a few of them, and we'll bring you a housing report in a future meeting. But you can see, and I know some of you come out to openings and you've seen the differences that we've made. So we want the public to know that we do have additional funds in this budget year, so call us for an application and we'll be happy to process it and determine if you qualify. We also had a successful activity with the CDC, bringing back Creativity Station for the spring. For this session, the children focus on marine biology and environmental sciences, and it was quite a success. And they participated with the National Black Scuba Divers and just had a great time. So we do have applications for our summer program, the CDC does, and camp will start on June 3rd and go for 3 weeks until June 21st. Now, what is upcoming? Because we're always busy in neighborhood services. Tomorrow night, we have our next homebuyers class. We are very big on promoting home ownership. So if you think that you're ready to buy a home, give us a call. We can get you signed up for our homebuyers club. It meets at Clean and Safe on the second Thursday of each month from 6 to 8 p.m. and it's totally free. We also are bringing back our very popular entrepreneur and startup program. Our Comerica Small Business Resource Center will start the last Tuesday of the month, and that's a 6-week certification series, which is also free to attendees. We have a few slots left. So give us a call, go to our website, and you can sign up there. The public can sign up. And coming on the 18th, 19th, my eyesight is bad, we have our Seaside Gospel Celebration, another first for our Tiki Market. We have 2 recording artists, Pastor Jimmy Hicks and Pastor Helen Miller, along with other local talent. So if you love gospel music, or if you love good music, if you want good food, good eats, and just want to come out and enjoy the afternoon, come out to the Tiki Market on the 19th, bring your chair, and we'll have a good time. And that is going very well. So with that, I'll stop and see if there are any questions or comments, but we look forward to seeing you all at our upcoming activities.
Okay. Do we have any comments from the board?
Just one question, Madam
Yes.
Chair. Ms. Jenkins, so the entrepreneur startup, is that no longer with Paragon? Are they not a part of that?
Not for this series. They will be assisting us with what we call our deep dive classes, but not for this certification series.
Okay.
Anyone else? Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Appreciate it. All right. We don't have any items tabled. We'll go into our general public comments. 3-minute time limit. Public comments should be restricted to issues, matters, or topics pertinent to the Riviera Beach Community Redevelopment Agency. Please be reminded that the CRA Board of Commissioners has adopted rules of decorum governing public conduct during official meetings, which has been posted at the entrance of the council chambers in an effort to preserve order. If any of the rules are not adhered to, the commission chair may have any disruptive speaker or attendee removed from the podium, from the meeting and/or building if necessary. Please govern yourselves accordingly.
Fane Lozman, followed by Rodney Roberts and Moshe Kimber.
Fane Lozman.
Good
We
evening.
keep saying Singer Island. It should say Riviera Beach with 51 acres at Singer Island. Today was a great day. Today we served a notice. We have it stamped by the city clerk. We filed our statement of grounds to recall Julia Botel from the city of Riviera Beach. There are a lot of angry people on the west side. There's a lot of people disgusted. There's a paper trail of her involvement in the firing of one of only 3 black women chief building officials in the state of Florida out of 478 municipalities. Now there's only 2. Botel wanted her out, and she got her out. But the statement of grounds is such that it's unchallengeable, meaning that there's not opinion, there's not maybe, there's not like, oh, well, you know, that's not grounds for recall. I've been through 3 recalls, and we've been successful twice. We got Al Dorn during the recall, we got him arrested. And then we got Escarosa, Mayor Escarosa. We got all the signatures on the 2 things, and the special election was set, and the state attorney offered her resign or you'll be arrested. We got Botel's little pet Gagnon Gagnon's in deep trouble. I spent a couple hours at the state attorney's office on Monday. He is in deep trouble, and your fingerprints are all over that, Botel. But let's talk about what the statement of grounds are and why I think we got a great opportunity to get her thrown out, because people on the west side are livid. From the reverends, from the preacher, they are livid that this woman who's extremely qualified, Lady March, was run out of town because she wouldn't cheat the system. She wouldn't be corrupted. She issued permits, she wouldn't rescind them. She was told by her boss that a memo of insubordination would be put in her file if she didn't rescind it. She was told by Evans at Botel's behest, but Botel is basically an advocate for the Amrit project back in 2014, that if they gave a real valuation, she would be fired for that. But that's not what the recall is about. The recall is about the following. City of Riviera Beach councilperson Julia Bertel has committed multiple acts of malfeasance by using her city hall office, city supplies, and city office equipment, which were to use for the performance of her elected duties, to conduct non-city affairs. Councilperson Bertel prepared at her city hall offices flyers for a political action committee that stated its goal was to replace chief building official Lady March Goldwire. That is irrefutable. She admitted that she gave partial reimbursement to the city, but the bottom line is those offices are for elected officials to do solely their city business, okay? They are not the rent, the electric, the machinery. That is not to be used for other purposes. To target a city employee is disgusting. It's reprehensible. If this was 50 years ago, you would have had a race riot in this town that this white woman would dare target a black woman in this city. Not only that, but she also, one second, she also registered a private company at City Hall, and that can be looked up on Sunbiz. So we're going to get the signatures, and we're going to get you thrown off that dais, Botel.
Thank you.
Rodney Roberts.
Good evening. Go ahead, Mr. Roberts.
Good evening, Rodney Roberts,
Good evening.
1581 West 14th Street, Riviera Beach, Federal Gardens. I'm smiling because life is great. Life is great. We just saw the presentation from the CRA and the CDC about a lot of things that I spoke on. We need more of that. We need more of that compounded. Why? Because we want to stop the inactivity and the idleness of our youths and adults, for that matter. We want people to be able to afford to stay here in Riviera Beach. So we need more jobs, more jobs, more jobs, which means that you have to put more money into projects like that. And again, I don't know what and when it comes to that, when we're trying to stop crime, when we're trying to stop drugs, when we're trying to stop disease, when we're trying to stop, killings and things like that, I don't know where the FPL lines and all that other stuff comes into play. I know people that have money need somewhere to spend it, but this place was kept stagnant for so long, and we didn't have any place to go. And now all of a sudden we need to put money in the neighborhoods or whatever, but we're putting it in so people can have places to go. So I applaud the CRA and I applaud the CDC. Mr. Evans, if that's you, great, and the whole team effort, great. I just need that times 10. You understand? I need that times 10. We're doing these events over here in the marina where we've revitalized and all that good stuff. But I need it in the neighborhoods. I need it in the neighborhoods. I need the kids to see that young kid that's playing the guitar. I need him over at Sadie McCrae Park showing these kids that, hey, this is what I do. You about my age, you can do this too. I need yoga in the parks. You know what I'm saying? I need meditation in the parks. I need all of that in the neighborhoods. In the neighborhoods, not just over here on the corridor, because that means that I have to travel over there to the corridor, and if I don't have that kind of, transportation, unless you want to provide transportation, if you want to pull a bus at the park on 5th Street or whatever and drive the kids over there and ensure that they get back, but then you'll probably say that's too much insurance, what have you, what not. I don't want them walking across the railroad tracks, so bring it to them. The same way you're putting out the flyers, just bring it to us, and we're going to bring out the flyers and let them know that it's going to be right there in the park this weekend, what have you. So, that was a great presentation. I needed times 10. That's all.
Thank you.
Moshe Kimber, followed by Johnny Keeber and Ashley Walker.
Greetings, members of the board,
Good evening.
CRA, Council. My name is Moshe Loren Kimber. I am here on behalf of Kimber Hospitality Group. I sent a letter on Monday to the board and some other key city personnel, and I'd like to first say thank you, Mr. Troderick. That's the only response that I received back, so I don't know if you can confirm whether you received it, because I sent it to council as well, but the basis of the letter was to shed light on the RFP process, which is flawed on so many levels. I'm here today to request a detailed letter from the CRA director, Mr. Evans, explaining the events that occurred after the tabulation and publishing of the written submissions, because what was supposed to happen did not. It's RFP 2018-06. Prior to the oral presentations, participants were supposed to receive a matrix by which the oral presentation would be scored, and we did not. I spoke to one of the members of the oral committee who advised that there was a tabulation sheet, and to date that matrix nor the scores have been published. The combined total score of the written and the oral were to determine the top candidate for that award. However, a final score was derived prior to the publishing of the oral presentation scores. Why was there a lack of transparency of the scores for the oral presentation and the matrix? Why haven't the submissions of the three finalists been published as other RFP submissions have been? So that the public can see, Mr. Evans, what you used to make your recommendation. This lack of transparency is what's put a cloud of suspicion over the entire process. Furthermore, negotiations began, revisions and changes were made to the RFP before the board's final approval on April 24th. That the criteria that was changed, specifically surrounding the proof of financial feasibility, were a part of the scoring process of the written, which in eliminating that requirement not only changes the scoring of the written, but it certainly served as a deterrent to at least one of the businesses that I know for sure who did not go after it because they did not have the resources, and we don't know how many other potential businesses did not go after it because of that reason. The other issues pointed out in the letter regarding conflicts of interest only exacerbate the grave deficiencies of the process. The process is flawed. The process needs to be fixed. Transparency needs to be a priority. Small businesses looking to do business with the city of Riviera Beach should do so with confidence that the process will be fair, unbiased, clearly communicated, followed, and executed as set forth in the solicitation by the Florida statutes, by both the agency and the participants. And when it's not, there needs to be a system of accountability. So I just want to be clear that this is not a personal attack on anyone, but just an attack on a system that is flawed. As a voting member and tax-paying member of this community, I have the right and the responsibility to shed light on the disparities as it relates to the process for applying for city funds to ensure that everybody gets a fair shake at the opportunities. I look forward to hearing back based on the issues that I've outlined in the letter, as well as the ones that were presented this evening. Thank you.
Thank you.
Madam Chair.
Is she the last one? Let's finish this and then we can
Johnny
come back.
Keeber.
And any
Johnny
questions
Keeber,
that you have
followed by
answers
Ashley
for.
Walker.
Okay. Who's next?
Ashley Walker.
All right, Ms. Walker? Okay.
That's the end of
That's
public
it?
comment.
All right, Mr. Evans, if you have any questions or comments for
I would just like to add that in any competitive process, you're always going to have some teams who win and some teams who lose. And we try to conduct ourselves with 100% transparency. I disagree strongly with some of the statements, but we will certainly respond to the letter, and we'll
Point of
provide
order.
all of the answers that were requested in that letter and a feedback. And I just want to make that known. Thank you.
Okay, and if you could just provide the board with an update as to what you come up with, just so that it, we're being responsive to the concern.
Madam Chair?
Yes.
I'm sorry. I didn't receive an email, so I'm hoping that you have my correct address, and let's talk later. Thank you.
All right. Yes.
We're treating her letter as a protest.
Okay.
And under procurement code, the executive director would issue a response to the protest. We will respond in writing and report to a copy of the board.
Okay. All right, thank you. All right, so report of the executive director.
I have no additional.
All right, report of the general counsel.
I have nothing. There's been some changes to the statute, CRA statute. I'll prepare a memo for distribution to the board rather than trying to give you a whole report.
All right. Discussion from the board, starting with Mr. Lawson.
Thank you, Madam Chair. Madam Chair, the goal that I was actually wanted to bring tonight would be the discussion of our disparity study. We spoke about it in our council meeting, and I wanted to discuss it tonight at our CRA meeting to possibly work on having staff negotiate the terms of how the CRA, utility district, and the city can also jointly bring us disparity study to our city, and doing that aggressively. So I know that we have instructed staff already to begin that process of negotiation, but also to this, for the next meeting, the city meeting, to understand how the CRA can be implemented into this financially, what costs they'd be willing to bring to the table, and have some type of idea so that we can actually move aggressively with this.
Okay. Ms. Lanier?
No comments.
Mr. McCoy?
Nothing, Madam Chair.
Okay, and for me, I want to reiterate again, it kind of goes along with what Mr. Lawson was saying about the disparity study, but the point of the community benefits agreement that we talked about for about 3, 4, 5 months now. So if we can try to be able to have something for our next meeting to be able to give the board an update on what you have or where you are with it, that would be good.
Yes, and we're developing an RFP that we will present at that June meeting.
Okay. All right, Ms. Botel.
I'm sorry, I had to try to find my computer. A couple of things. I want to respond to the statements, the inaccurate statements made by Mr. Lozman. I understand he's angry because his plan to ruin the Lake Worth Lagoon is being stymied. But a recall petition, I think that's a little extreme. I did set up a private corporation, and it happens to be a 501c3 called the Friends of the Riviera Beach Schools. When I set it up, I conferred with the legal department in Riviera Beach to be sure that I was doing it with all taking all the proper steps. I have now, since then, divested myself of any leadership in that organization, although I support it wholeheartedly. And the new leaders, one of whom is here, Mary Beth Kofer, have done an outstanding job, and J.B. Dixon, in carrying that work forward. We buy children books and school presents for Christmas presents. We've done parties for Stony Brook children, both at Christmas and Easter. And I'm very proud of the work that's been done by that, quote, private corporation. So go ahead and recall me on that if you want to. The other comment that he made was about my doing campaign work in the city office. I made personal copies on the office machine in the legislative office, and we have confirmed publicly with Mr. Sherman that I paid for every single one of those copies, totally, not in part, but totally. And so I want to just put that to rest. It seems like a really ridiculous effort for Mr. Lozman to try to intimidate me into supporting his efforts to develop the submerged lands on Singer Island. People on Singer Island, as well as people on the mainland, know the value of that submerged land, know the value of that lagoon to us, the precious water that's there, and the precious nurturing area that is for sea life. And so I will continue to oppose him and be proud of the work that I'm doing, both in the Riviera Beach, Friends of Riviera Beach Schools, and with my work in other areas. A couple of quick things before we close. I participated in the National Letter Carriers Stamp Out Hunger event on Saturday, and it was a great event. They gave away a lot of food, but they will also be collecting food. Your letter carriers will be collecting food this Saturday, May 11th. So if you have non-perishable goods that can be put in a bag somewhere near your mailbox, please put them out on Saturday, and your letter carrier will pick them up. The event took place at the Judge Rogers Community Center. And I had the opportunity while I was there to introduce two people who are now going to be working together on my workforce development task force. One of them is Captain Rich Brochu, who has a marvelous workshop over there where he's going to teach kids canvas, boat canvas. You listening? He's going to teach them to sew boat canvas. He's going to teach them to do carpentry, not only kids, but young adults and returning citizens as well. So I was happy to introduce him to a gentleman by the name of Mr. Ferguson, who's going to give free training in the construction trades so that when we have projects like the big one at the marina, we can ensure that we have trained people to participate in those projects. I was really happy about that. And last, we had a Singer Island garden meeting. The community garden will be opening. We had a wonderful, very well-attended meeting last last week, and we'll also be starting a garden club on Singer Island. So lots of good things happening, and we can just turn our backs on those of us who would like to focus on the negative. Thank you.
All right. And with that being said, we do have a special city council meeting. We will adjourn from the CRA meeting, and we'll begin in about 10 minutes. At this time, we are adjourned from the CRA.